Is Israel acting in good faith? Is Israel acting in good faith? Just recently a headline came out that 1.1 million Gazans should move in 24 hours and that this is their fair warning. But how is that possible? How can over 1 million people move in a day with damaged infrastructure? It's just like telling Gazans to leave when they're blockaded and trapped. Is Israel just posturing? Are they acting in good faith? What's going on here? The evacuation itself could kill a lot of innocent children. Because of all the chaos and urgency and lack of resources and necessities. It's the Middle East. As a general rule, nobody is ever acting in good faith. They gave a hospital 2 hours to evacuate. There were still patients being treated inside. Netanyahu sees an opportunity to wipe the Gaza Strip off the face of the earth, and everyone is too worried about being called an anti-Semite or a terrorist sympathizer to say anything in response. So no, not in good faith. It's not in good faith. It's about claiming to have the moral high ground as they slaughter civilians. In its 75-year existence, Israel has never acted in good faith towards Palestine. Their actions have been labeled as genocide, ethnic cleansing and apartheid. Israel has broken every part of the Geneva Convention along the way and has never been held accountable. I think there are devious acts on both sides. The only ways in and out of Gaza are constantly being bombed and half destroyed. People literally can't get out. But at the same time, Hamas doesn't want people leaving because each civilian death further pushes their agenda and support. Or at least that is what I've been told via numerous news outlets through TikTok, Reddit, and online. So who really knows? Israel is posturing. Yes. It is nice of them to suggest Gazans get out of their way, but they've impoverished that population so far that leaving isn't a viable option for many. When the U.S. attempts to evacuate cities in preparation for hurricanes, the evacuations are almost always a disaster in of themselves, and Americans have a lot more resources, especially for travel, than do Gazans. Israel knows they're about to endanger more than 1 million civilian lives, and they've decided that's their best option. This is a fig leaf of deniability. Israel is not giving Gazan civilians a good faith option. If Israeli leadership had any plans to act in good faith towards Palestine, they would have held up their end of the bargain: resettlements and IDF violence. But that's never been Bibi and Co.'s mo. They encourage violence and oppression of Palestinians, knowing it will result in violent backlash. That then gives them the necessary political cover for whatever ethnic cleansing operations they deem necessary. Israel is going to invade Gaza and root out any militants. Once Gaza is under control, Israel will probably keep it permanently. No. Imagine telling the population of Austin, TX, that they have to move within 24 hours but can't use their cars, public transit, or the majority of streets. This is just textbook Israeli policy. They have been looking for excuses to take more land and push Palestinians off it. 2 days ago we woke up to the atrocities at Egypt's border. Bibi implored Palestinians to evacuate that way. Then he ordered the IDF to bomb them. Front page news at the Times of Israel. They bombed the Lebanon border and killed reporters. They are now releasing more videos of IDF bombing trucks of women and children evacuating PRR. Israel's orders. Then they murdered them. There is nothing remotely good about Bibi. At this point, I would suggest he isn't even human. Are any civilians from Gaza coming forward and giving info about the location of the Israeli captives or American among them? If it wasn't, we would be seeing way more casualties among civilians at this point. There's basically no incentive for Israel to act in bad faith. One of the most violent massacres since Srebrenica happened to them. The Israelis don't need fake sympathy points at this point. No one is going to stop them regardless of what they do. Also, Hamas is a free source of justifications of violence. They literally can't stop committing crimes against humanity. Almost all the fighting is over what is an appropriate military response. This is why I struggle with the US backs Israel 100 no questions ask ever messaging that's been coming out of Washington. Do you back this insane demand that is completely impossible and will cause even more death and chaos? Think the IDF has been looking for an excuse to level Palestine for years without looking like evil bastards while doing so. The attack by Hamas gave them that excuse. Israel hasn't acted in good faith for decades. Why would this be any different? The Gazans are trapped in their own morgue and Israel know it. The chosen people have chosen the mass murder of civilians to salve their consciences. No one here is acting in good faith. Don't pick a side because both sides are militant and taking turns with their awfulness. Good faith? Iran is using a terrorist organization as a tool to hinder Saudi-Israeli ties, abusing the group's hatred for the Israeli government. Israel has no choice but to act like this, and Iran knew that. Another semi-proxy war. Hamas isn't letting them leave. Some being kept in tunnels below the ammunition dumps. I'm not sure how one acts in good faith when an attack was launched at them by a terrorist group. I'd say what's happening to Gaza is full score on Hamas. Something unusual is going on. Egypt says they warned Israel and the US confirmed it. Israel's intelligence agency Mossad is known to be very good at their job. Hamas trained close to Israel. Something isn't adding up. Is Israel just posturing? Are they acting in good faith? What's going on here? Possibly. But I just got that alert too, and my version said at the elapse of that time all residents of Gaza will be considered combatants. I know what that sounds like to me. But I will wait before I say it out loud. Wouldn't want to be attacked as being hyperbolic or a sensationalist. Would I? It's not possible. They have no passports. They need permission from Egypt or Israel to leave. Gaza is the same size as the city limits of Las Vegas. Okay, so let's say they all cram into southern Gaza. They're still too close to the fighting. I mean, honestly, Israel has the right to go in there and get the militants. But telling half of the region to just move in 24 hours. This isn't going to be just an incursion. Fuck Hamas. Fuck the IDF. When the US was attacked, it retaliated with a 20-year war that cost the lives of millions of people. As soon as the press called this Israel's 9/11, and everyone unequivocally supported Israel, that meant Israel could do whatever it wanted in return. If you disagree, you stand with the terrorists. So to answer your question, they are not. 86% of Israelis blame the government for the attacks. This is a refutation that might result in peace. It's a fig leaf to cover genocide. The movement of that many people on foot with no food or water would likely kill a vast multitude of civilians in and of itself. Hamas telling those people to stay put is actually a not terrible suggestion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's only interest is his own power. He would celebrate if every Palestinian man, woman and child was murdered. The war came at a perfect time for him as Israelis were beginning to revolt, including his military. Why were warnings ignored? Did the Israelis think a small sacrifice would justify a genocidal reaction? Just check out USS Liberty to know all you need to know about the good faith of Israel.